mostly Islamic despotisms that are able to just pull their wealth out of the ground and have no burden upon them to develop functional intellectual societies. And so, anyway, those are my elitist noises.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the energy issue at the end, because, of course, what we have on that is we have evangelicals mobilizing to create concern among their own members about global climate change, and that's actually an important trend in the evangelical community, and they're defining the mission to deal with protecting the environment in the context of biblical stewardship, which is a message that resonates for them. And this, the question to me is, do you really want to alienate those enemies when the planet is at stake? No. Not in the context of American politics, no. That's all I would say.
Let me to make a comment about science and politics and the society, bringing science to society. Since I'm new to this group, let me introduce myself in 10 seconds. My name is Eshel Ben Jacob. I was the president of the Israel Physical Society, so we were involved in trying to make attempts like the attempts that you're making, and the Inter-Senate Committee in Israel to bring the attention of the government science. I agree with what you said, but I think that one thing which I missed is that one has to start much earlier. Mm-hmm. Much earlier, I mean in preschool even, school, and then high schools. Both in terms of classes and in terms of the media programs. We forgot about the programs that kids watch. And they have less selection on one hand, and the second hand is that parents can have some guidance to what they do watch and what they don't watch. So this is one comment. The other comment is that we forgot also the role of the scientist. Scientists, sometimes we are very reluctant we feel that this is making the science cheap. If we try to make the science, or the science that we are doing, and bring it into the attention of the public in a popular way. So there are many scientists that are very reluctant, and there are many scientists that if someone, a scientist, a colleague, is successful in doing it, they have some bad feeling about the way that he's doing it. It's like playing the science cheap. So this is the fault of the scientists. And the last comment is that you are right, you mentioned it, that post-Second World War, there was a flourish in the interests of the public and politician and society at large. Also, we forgot the role of people that make the money, that if they are interested in science, it makes an impact. But it was because the feeling of society was that it's directly related to this existence issue of every person, existential issues. So I agree with you completely that bringing back the energy issue can again draw the attention of the society and bringing global warming. But when we do go to the public, many times, and that reflects in the views, I think, in the polls about global warming, we bring out the question if it is man-made or natural fluctuations, to what extent it is man-made. We pay less attention trying to explain people in a very simple way what could be the consequences, and say, okay, not let's argue if to what extent it is man-made, which is important, because if we want to take measures to limit the production of CO2, but at the same time to have some unification and give some hope, like was mentioned here, that we can find ways to adapt to the problem or to solve or to reverse it. So this is just adding to the things that you mentioned.
But what do you do if you want to sell a program? What do you do?
Well, I just want to first wholeheartedly agree with what I call the cringe factor, but how academia often feels about engaging in public policy. It's a huge problem, and I've known personally, and you hear stories of so many scientists who think about doing one of these AAAS fellows, a Sea Grant fellowship like I did, and ultimately opt out because they're afraid, first, by not publishing during that 1 to 2 year period, And then secondly, what their colleagues will think of them coming through the process on the other side. Will they be advocates? And Jeremy Jackson, who I'm sure you know, is one of the best marine scientists, marine conservation voices we have in the world right now. And there are people who sort of object to that because he does take a position on a lot of issues which are very important. So I think we need to, as you said, start changing some of the perspectives on those individuals. And just an anecdote to add, I had run into Sam Farr earlier this year. He is one of the greatest ocean champions from California, a congressman. And he said to me, you know, he always has a Sea Grant Fellow as well, and I wasn't in his office, but I'm friendly with his former Sea Grant Fellow, Latisse Hauser. And what he said was, you know, I don't understand. All of these wonderful scientists come through my office, and then they never go back into science. He didn't mean that they, you know, that they're not doing any research at all. But I think what he meant is once they get the bug, once they see what their work, what their professional career can do on an application level, they're often less inclined to go back and only be doing research, only be working in the lab. But we need more people to have that experience, and we need to encourage that in the ivory towers and in discussions, in TV, in the people that we show to young people coming through the science pipeline to the other side.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, that's why we still have to grapple with the Carl Sagan problem. The history of the popularization of science in America in the last 50 years is the history of tension between trying to reach broader audiences coming from the scientific community and then getting brushed back by scientists themselves who say you're simplifying. And so we're trying to, we want to reach people, but no, you can't. You can't do it like that. And so we retreat, and then we advance, and then we retreat. There has to be some sort of accommodation of the idea that it's not going to be comprehensive scientific information as we get beyond the scientific community, and sort of a détente between the tut-tutting experts and the aspiring communicators.
There is a moral perhaps to be drawn from the fact that some of the voices in the debate, in particular, for example, the religious lobby in the United States, is very well funded, very well organized. It's got radio programs and television programs, and most of its resources go to propagandizing its message. And the science organizations, science departments and universities just don't do that with their resources because they funnel them into research. And when a piece of very important and significant research comes out, the scientists who produced it tend to think that it just speaks for itself. Put it in front of a congressman or something, it'll be self-explanatory, and it isn't. So, you know, maybe the moral there is that professional scientific bodies and universities need to allocate just some of their resources a bit to the public understanding remit. I mean, in the United Kingdom, there are two professors of public understanding of science.
Leon Lederman.
This is just want to add an anecdote that I think is an important one. We have a congressman in Illinois who is a physicist. He spent 20 years doing high-level research at Fermilab. And before that, he had been an inventor and a businessman and started a business which made him very comfortable. That's a special advantage. And a year ago or so, he decided he wanted to run for Congress. And with a leave of absence, he spent some time in a congressional office learning how to do this. He then engaged a polling firm to look at the area he's in, and our area is rock-rib Republican. They elected a dying congressman, who died about a week after he was elected, because he was rock-rib Republican. Our district